Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander Score studio. Welcome to the show. So, over the years, Wizards has learned a few things when it comes to card design, and yet they still make certain cards that maybe rub certain players the wrong way. On today's episode, let's jump into the saltiest cards, the most hated cards, the updated list from 2024. Thank you, EDH Rec, for having this list. Let's jump into it now. I have done another episode on the most hated Commanders 2024 edition. Make sure you check that episode out. And actually, it's going to be pretty interesting to look at, like Wintermoon. Obviously a very salty card. Let's jump into this one and talk about, well, the kind of number of cards that are in the 99 that are salty versus the number of Commanders recently that Wizards has been making that maybe are salty and why that might be. Regardless, Wintermoon, very, very straightforward in its salt. An artifact for 2. Players can untap more than one non-basic land during their untapped steps. This one has a salt score of 2.16, and that is on a 1 to 4 scale, with the highest cards on that scale being like at 3. So yeah, this is a very, very, very salty card. Most like of your normal cards won't even register on the salt scale, and this is way up there. Players can untap more than one non-basic land during their untapped steps. That is huge because, well, I mean, in a format like Commander, players play a lot of non-basic lands. I mean, a lot of formats are a lot of non-basic lands, and this is like, hey, you know what? Let's just not. Let's just not keep playing. We're just gonna, you know, make it so that we're crawling at a very slow pace. I mean, this is basically Winter Orb, but an updated version in a way. And yeah, this is very, very, very salt-inducing. Commander players typically don't like stacks pieces, and this is a big stacks piece. And this one came out this year, Modern Horizons 3, and Wizards like, yeah, but Modern players probably like that, but maybe not Commander players. Next up, Roaming Throne. This one might surprise players to see on this list. This one came out 2023, and it is one of the heaviest played cards over the time of it coming out up until now, because it is so ubiquitous in what kinds of decks can use it. A 4/4 golem for 4 mana. Artifact creature, ward it too, because it needed ward. Wizards Ride enters the battlefield, choose a creature type, is the chosen type, and other types. If a triggered ability of another creature you control of the chosen type triggers additional time. Basically, I mean, the way that this is kind of like positioned for players, it's like, yeah, hey, tribal decks, cool, all right, yeah, everything in your tribe now can double up, great, cool. But the, I mean, not that that already isn't necessarily a problem, because that's already incredibly ubiquitous in how many decks can utilize it, but it's also just like, hey, do you have a commander that has a triggered ability? Yes. Do you want to double that up? Yes. Okay, cool. Nearly every commander with a triggered ability wants to be able to do that. So all of a sudden you just like shove this into any deck, because it doesn't matter literally if you have, say, a commander that is a, I don't know, zombie, and you have no other zombies in the deck at all. It does not matter. All that matters is this literally doubles up your commander's trigger, and that will make certain decks just explode with value, essentially. So yeah, this is a card that sees so much play. They did not need to print it, and they definitely didn't need to put Ward 2 on it. So yeah, this is definitely a huge chase card that can definitely upset some players when it's played. Next up, the One Ring. Yeah, this thing is salty for so many reasons. 2.7 on the salt scale. I think I forgot to mention the Roaming Throne. 1.6, still very high, but 2.7, that is hugely salty. A legendary artifact for 4 mana. Indestructible. Enters the battlefield. If you cast it, you gain protection from everything until your next turn. Would already be pretty salty if that was it right there. But of course, it's not it. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each burning counter on it. Tap per day burning counter on it, then draw a card for each burning counter on the One Ring. They made a quote-unquote downside to the card, but it's really not that big of a downside, and there are plenty of ways around it, and you don't really have to like pay for the actual downside of it until later. Yeah, this card is it's a massive chase card. It is taking over a lot of formats out there, and yeah, Commander, it is, again, ubiquitous because they made it, of course, in a way where any deck can play it. If you've got the $61 or whatever it is to play this card, any deck can play it because it is, of course, a card that is just generic mana. Yeah, you know, any deck can utilize it for any color identity, does not matter, and it's just a massive draw engine for all of them, and also just a protection spell, and of course, a way to easily use and abuse this is, well, you could, like, untap it, keep, you know, tapping it again and again and again, draw more and more cards. You could proliferate to get more cards quicker. You could bounce this. You could get it back to your hand to replay it to then get protection again, which is annoying. And also being able to just reset those burn counters so you didn't even pay the life to do so. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons why this one is quite salty. This one did come out last year in the Lord of the Rings set. And of course, they're like, yeah, we've got to really make this really big because we need to make sure that everyone goes out and buys this and all the Lord of the Rings cards, and then we will dominate with Universes Beyond. We are wizards. And yeah, this is a card that they pushed maybe just a bit too far, just a little bit, in the fact that it's so dominant in many formats and quite salt-inducing and annoying. 2.7 next up. Orc Masters, yet another card from Lord of the Rings from last year that also pretty much immediately the rules committee at the time was like, you know what? This one's on our radar. A 1/1 Orc Archer with Flash for 2 mana in black. When it enters the battlefield and whenever an opponent draws a card except the first one they draw on each of their draw steps, it deals 1 damage to any target that amass Orcs 1. Here's the thing, Wizards. You knew what you were doing when you designed this. In fact, I'm sure like an early draft of this card was like, all right, so what we want to do, all right, here's the concept. Players draw a lot of cards, right? And we want players have to have a way to punish players who draw a bunch of cards. Yeah, okay, cool. Okay. So here we go. All right. Orcish Spellmasters, all right, cool. Yeah, I got it. All right. 2 and a black. Okay, sure. 2/2 flash. All right. Enters the battlefield. And whenever opponent draws cards the first their draw steps, it's gonna deal 1 damage to that player. Then sure, maybe a mass works on whatever. Okay, all right. But that player, it's gonna punish the player that's drawing the cards. And it's like, Nah. You can just put it wherever you want. Put the damage wherever you want. Any target. I mean, it would already be very powerful with that. And of course, it would, be a very good card when it comes to working with, wheels and stuff like that. But of course, we already have cards that are really good with wheels. This one's like, no, it needs to be better than that. You know what? Anytime anyone's drawing those extra cards, you know what's going to happen? You put that damage wherever you want. So if Jim Bob over there just drew 10 cards, we can go send 20 damage over there, or not 20, but yeah, 10 damage to another player for no reason. Or actually just split up the damage and take out creatures. Yeah, it's a card where, again, it is, of course, very salt-inducing, of course, because it does work in that way, and also, which really doesn't make sense kind of in the way that works, number one. Number two, it also, again, works incredibly well with wheels, which is somewhat of a salt-inducing type of play to keep wheeling again and again and again and again. So because of that, a couple of reasons why it is at a 2.28 on the salt scale right now. Next up, Poral Texia came out in 2022. A huge card with a huge amount of value and a big salt score up there, 1.61 as well. Artifact for 9, enters the battlefield. Each one sacrifices 3 creatures. Beginning of your upkeep, put target creature card from a graveyard on the battlefield to control. It's a Phyrexian and other types. This is a card that is big and impactful. It does have a high amount of value, but of course, there are certain ways, of course, especially in Commander, where you can maybe cheat it into play. And yeah, just get it into play very quickly, or, in a right position where you're like, all right, okay, yeah, you all sacrifice your things, and I'm going to get them, and they are mine now. Yes. So being able to essentially wipe the board, mini wipe the board in a way. And again, it's only opponents not used got to sacrifice creatures. And of course, that's on an ETB, not unlike ETB with a cast trigger requirement. No. That's just straight up ETB, meaning that if you can, say, blink this, congratulations, you're going to keep edicting the field again and again and again and again and again. On top of that, again, you get to steal your opponent's best creatures, and they are now yours, and they're also Phyrexians, so have fun with that. So yeah, stealing your opponent's things, typically a way to maybe make them not so happy with you, especially after you wipe their board. Next up, from last year, though, another Eldrazi type card that's up there. Yeah, and make sure you, again, check out that most hated commanders list because there's some Eldrazi on there. Sorcery for 12 mana in total. This spell can't be countered. Destroy target permanent. Target player draws 4 cards. Take an extra turn for this one. Exile Rise of the Eldrazi. Yeah, just in general, salt scores are going to be a little higher on extra turn cards because, well, yeah, they are, not going to say problematic in Magic, but they can lead to certain problematic play states where one player is like, I cast an extra turn spell. Okay, oh, cool, yeah, you took an extra turn, all right. On my extra turn, I cast another extra turn spell. Okay. And then I cast another one. Okay. And then another one. And this one is one where, again, it literally can't be countered, so there's no stopping this. You also, yeah, you destroy a permanent, so that's nice. But yeah, you can draw 4 cards. So you're just like, yeah, okay, replace this, get the other things. Yeah, awesome, cool. Copy this maybe a couple times. Have fun with that. Yeah, it is a card that, again, 1.43, pretty salty at this point. Again, a card that only fits in certain decks out there because that is a pretty restrictive casting cost, actually. 3 colorless mana in there. That being said, yeah, the decks that want to cast it get a lot of value out of it. Moving on, FASA's Oracle 2020. This card is still going huge right now. A 1/3 Merfolk Wizard for 2 mana in blue. Enters the battlefield like the top X card your library, X your devotion to blue. Put up to 1 of them on top of your library. The rest of your library in random order. If X is greater than or equal to the number of cards in your library, you win the game. Basically, Lab Maniac, but better. It is really hard to stop, actually, from actually happening. And, yeah, again, it's on an ETB. It doesn't have to just stay and play and hope it survives. No, it's just like, yeah, ETB happens. Cool. Demonic Consultation or whatever other way to just remove my library. It's a one card, I win the game. Typically, that combination doesn't see play in more casual games. It's more of a CDH type build, but still a salt-inducing card at 2.82. Yeah, even above the One Ring. Next up, though, just below the One Ring, Draconian Magistrate. Again, in 2020. Apparently in 2020, there's quite a few cards that came out were like, ooh, salty. 1/3 Human Wizard for 2 mana in white. Your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands. Here's the thing. And if it specified like hands or command zone, then, yeah, it would not be as salty as it is. But, yeah, this counts the command zone, which means that you can, of course, cast spells from, anywhere in their hands, including your command zone. So you can cast your commander. Your opponents cannot. And the vast majority of commander decks out there, not the vast majority, but many commander decks out there, a lot of commander decks out there are built around their commander. And when you can't get your commander out, you're like, huh, all right, well, I hope I can get in some removal or it's going to be a pretty boring game. Yeah, this is a, like, hate bear. It's like the hate bear of all hate bears. It's like, you know what, for commander specifically, it's like, yeah, you know what, I get to play my commander deck. You don't get to play yours because your deck are on your commander. You're not getting that out. You got to deal with this first. And by the way, in this deck that I have Draconian Magistrate, I probably have a lot of other hate bears to do some pretty disgusting things. So I'm going to slow the game down to a crawl. And I'm going to win through, well, just sheer boredom of you all. There you go. Okay, 2.58 for that salt score. Moving on. Fierce Guardianship. Again, 2020 had so many salty cards. Again, looking at the more modern cards of Magic and just what we are getting and like, all right, what is causing players to be a bit salt-induced? Fierce Guardianship is definitely a card that can sit pretty high up on that list at 2.36 on the salt scale. Instant for 2 and a blue. If you control a commander, you may cast a spell at paying its mana cost. A gross. Counter-target non-creature spell. Gross. Here's the thing. Whenever someone argues, like, oh, it only counters on creature spells. That's the majority of spells, number one. Number two, all right, go look up, all right, just how much play Negate sees versus Essence Scatter. That's like the exact same card. It's an instant for 1 and a blue, right? Each of the instant for 1 and a blue. I think Instant Scatter is the right one. Anyways, instant for 1 and blue. 1 counters on creature spells. 1 counters creature spells. Which one sees more play? Negate sees an absurd amount of play in Commander, and Essence Scatter does not. So yes, it is impactful that this can't counter creature spells like, say, a commander, but still this counters nearly everything else, and all of a sudden you're just like, oh, I'm tapped out. Oh, I don't like what you're doing over there. Okay, I'll freely counter that because I've got my commander in play. No big deal. Yeah, just free counter spells in general are disgusting. Ones that are built specifically around commander, maybe even more disgusting. And Wizards, yeah, they definitely printed a couple things with like, chase card, ha 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 ha. Yeah, that's one of them. Moving on, Opposition Agent, 2.33 on the salt scale. Yet again from 2020. Again, what were they doing back then? 3/2 Human Rogue with Flash. It was the year of Commander, right? And they made some mistakes during that year. 2/4, 2 and a black. You control your opponents while they're searching libraries. When an opponent is searching their library, they exile each card they find. You may play those cards as long as they're in exile. It's many of color to cast them. We need a term for that, all right? Wizards, work on that. That's something that's salt-inducing to me, is that, like, that is so much text to be like, again, you can play those cards, they're exiled, and also spend mana. Give me a keyword for that, okay? Just give me a keyword to simplify that whole thing, because you put that on a lot of things these days, and it's pretty wordy. Anyways, basically, this is just like, hey, you know what? Players tutor for one reason or another. And at first, you might just be like, okay, this only shuts down, like, like, oh, yeah, demonic tutor, that kind of stuff. Sure, all right, well, that's very specific. Nope. this is not very specific at all because there's a lot of tutors that happen in Magic, especially when it comes to, you guessed it, lands. Not just against the green player that's like, let me get my entire library of lands in play. Yay for me. Which, yeah, I mean, green players, I like to play green too, and that's fun to do. That being said, just a simple, like, Evolving Wilds. You just play an Evolving Wilds, you crack it, and your opponent's like, no, that's my land. I get your land. Thank you for that. I am opposition agent. So yes, a very soul-inducing card at 2.33. Moving on. Really quick, Jeweled Lotus. It is banned now. It is a very salty card, 2.23. It is gone. Artifact for 0 tap. Sacrifice at 3 mana, pay 1 color. Space be able to cast your commander. It is banned. If you want to check out all of my opinions on the banned cards, check out those episodes on them. Let's move forward, though, to Farewell. 2.22 on the salt scale. This one, and some other ones I'm about to bring up, really surprised me, actually. Sorcery for 6 mana in white. Choose 1 or more. Exile all artifacts, all creatures, all enchantments, all graveyards. This is a very flexible board wipe that, again, is like permanently getting rid of things again because it is exiling versus destroying. It's kind of like Austere Command, but yeah, taken to another level. This is a very salt-inducing card for some players because, yes, it is a somewhat one-sided board wipe. Again, you can pick and choose what works best for you, and you're getting rid of things permanently. It is, in my opinion, and this, again, like, comment below with your thoughts on all this, because you know what? I understand that I have a different opinion than many of you out there. I have a different opinion than many people who apparently took this survey at EDH Rec who put this to be pretty salty. I don't think it's that salty of a card. 6 mana for this kind of effect is about right, I think. So, yeah, I personally don't find it to be that salty, but again, I'm on the outskirts on that opinion, apparently. Next up, one that really surprises me, though, is like, wait, what? What? Curse of Unbinding? 1.8 on the salt scale. Oh my goodness. Enchant player or a curse for 7 mana in blue. Begin of enchant player's upkeep, the player reveals card to the top of the library to reveal a creature card. With that card on the battlefield under your control, that player puts the rest of real cards into their graveyard. Now, one thing that does make some players salty, that person doesn't make me salty, is milling. And this is like milling and theft. So I guess when you put like that together, I can understand why certain players out there find this to be salty. I find this just to be kind of funny, you know, just like, all right, throw this on a player and you miscellaneously get a random creature at the top of the library, and it could be like a Sakura Tribe Elder, and you're like, oh, cool, I stole a Sakura Tribe Elder for 7 mana. I mean, yeah, you get more and more. You can hit some big things too, and yeah, some players just don't like to be milled, and some players don't like their things stolen. So yeah, it's a card that's like, that really surprised me when I saw 1.8. I'm like, my goodness. All right, 2021 is when this one came out. Deflecting SWAT really quick. Similar to Fierce Guardianship, not quite as salty though. 1.74 compared to Fierce Guardianship's 2.36. That being said, still very salty. Instant for 2 and a red. Again, same thing. Cast free if you got your commander. Choose your targets for target spell or ability. Basically, it can be like a redirect for something, or it's a counter spell. And what I mean by that is, if you cast something, someone tries to counter it, you can utilize this to redirect the counter spell to counter this instead of countering the actual thing that you want to get through. So it is, again, like redirection for removal, or typically removal. And then also, of course, yeah, like counter spell. So it is a salt-inducing card because, again, it is just free. Okay, this one you knew was going to be salty right when it was spoiled back in, the Innistrad block thing. All right, 7/8 Kraken for 7 mana blue. Hullbreaker with flash. This spell can't be countered. Whenever you cast a spell, choose up to 1. Return target spell you don't control back to its owner's hand. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. First of all, this combos very easily with, like, Soul Ring and certain things. So there are some combos there to keep track of, but also, yeah, just like, okay, again, this can't be countered, you flash it in. That's already somewhat salt-inducing because it's like, oh gosh, okay, out of nowhere, I can't stop it. And then also, pretty crazy powerful effect. Like, any single time I cast something, I'm basically like, remanding a spell. Is it remand? I think that's the one. It's like, you bounce the spell back to their hand, essentially like, I can't counter it, but not now. Your 7 mana spell that you just cast, I spent 1 mana to cast like an opt, and I drew a card in Scryed, and I also put your spell back in your hand so that, like, you just wasted all that mana, and all I did was spend 1 mana to do so. So it's kind of like, again, like, really annoying counter, but not permanent counter. And then also, yeah, bouncing non-land permanents back to someone's hands. Again, it can be yours if you're going combo with it. If you're going with, like, Soul Ring and that kind of stuff, sure, you can combo with it, get infinite mana, all that kind of stuff. But also just like, oh, your opponent's trying to do something against you, you're like, nope, that goes. And on top of that's a 7/8. Like, it has so many things going for it. And, 1.74 on the salt scale. Moving on. Here we go. Spinny Ride. Okay, so I did not anticipate attractions to show up, but they did on the Assault scale in a big way. 1.71 for Spinny Ride. Players don't like attractions, apparently, so be careful if you are playing an attraction deck. That might be one where you need to ask them first. I mean, they'll see that it's happening because you've got your like little attraction side thing, whatever, but you need to probably ask if you're going to play attractions, because surprisingly, I have seen a lot of players and a lot, I mean, again, just like, oh, I didn't realize attractions were that big of a problem when it comes to Assault, but apparently it is. Artifact attraction, visit, tap target creature opponent controls. I'm sure other attractions are up there in the Assault scale as well. Just want to send one to highlight, but yeah, being able to be like, oh yeah, cool, all right, I visited it. Tap, 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 tap. And you're going to have a lot of ways to visit. So you're going to be tap, 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 tap. And no one does anything. So yeah, from 2022, we got attractions, and they are apparently salty. 1.71. Next up, though, more salty than Esper Sentinel. Oh my goodness, 1.66 on the Assault scale. A 1/1 human soldier for a single white man. Whenever opponent casts their first creature spell each turn, draw a card unless the player pays X or XX Esper Sentinel's power. It's kind of like a mix of like Rhystic Study-ish / Mystic Remora in a way, based on power. It is on a creature, so it's slightly easier to remove than that. It's like artifact creature, so it's, you know, again, two things can be removed more easily. Yeah, it is one that is variable, though, based on that amount they have to pay. So if you can grow this, if you got a deck that can get more power on it, then sure, your opponents are never going to be able to pay that. And all of a sudden, you're drawing. It's only on the first one versus like Rhystic Study or Mystic Remora. Still, it's a lot of card advantage to be had on a 1-mana creature. 1.66 on the Assault scale. And finally, this one shocked me when I saw it. But yeah, this, again, it actually kind of pointed toward the attraction one, so I already put that one up earlier. But when I saw that Draconian Gate bot was a 1.63 on the Assault scale, I was like, what in the world have I been missing? 4/2 artifact creature robot for 5 mana. This is a common. This is a common from Unfinity. Enters the battlefield, choose one. Open up an attraction, destroy target attraction. I bet you can guess which one of these two things is salty, and it's not destroy target attraction. I guess the players out there who are playing attraction decks are like, I don't like that because it destroys my attractions. It's like, oh my gosh, yeah, okay, so having a very easily usable and abusable in any deck out there way to get attractions out again and again and again and again and again and again and again. Again, any kind of a blink deck could just throw this in there and be like, yeah, it's also got attractions in the deck just because of this. Pretty crazy. So yeah, apparently players out there, not big fans of attractions. 1.63. Really quick, okay, so I did say that was the last one, but really quick, I'll go through the next ones just at lightning speed and say the Assault scores. Underworld Breach, 1.62. Mostly from like CDH play is where this one's really powerful in getting things out of graveyards and recasting them, giving them, escape costs. That's powerful. Archon of Emeria, 1.58. Yeah, this is basically another kind of hate bear. You're only casting one thing each turn, taps down things when they come into play. Deadly Rollick, getting another free card. Again, any of those free cards, it's like, yeah, there's a bit of salt to that. One was a fog, one was like, protect my team. This is destroy something, the other one's counter, the other one's counter spells, and also redirection. Destroy or exile target creature for free. Yeah, anytime it's free, it's powerful, and it is, somewhat soul-inducing. Dothy Voidwalker, my goodness, they threw the farm at this one. They're just like, you know what? I don't think that's the phrase. They threw the kitchen sink at it. They put everything on this card. They're like, yeah, you know what? It's low to the ground. It's unblockable. Graveyard hate, and you steal things. Cool, yeah, all those things, throw it all on there. Yeah, Modern Horizons 2. So yeah, they did a lot of salty things with that. And actually, Scoot Swarm's on here too. Which, 1.48. Not all that surprising. I guess I should have said Dothy. Dothy's a 1.56. Scoot Swarm 1.48. This is a card that is super powerful and also very, 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 very time-inducing too, because it takes so much time for the player to like resolve this and also math it, and then to see a board state with this on it, because it's like, okay, cool, yeah, you got two. All right, I guess I should just read it really quick for those who don't know. Land enters battlefield to control, create a 1/1 insect. That's not the problem. The problem is if you control 6 or more lands, you make a copy of this, meaning that every single time a land comes into play, and by the way, you're in a green deck, which means that you've got a lot of ways to get a lot of landfall, you are exponentially growing your team of Scoot Swarm, which means you go from 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16 to 32 to 64 to 128 to 256 to 512. Keep going. Okay, anyways, you get a lot. You get a lot very, very, very quickly. And it can be impossible to keep track of, really, like, at all. And so just an impossible board state, they can take over the game in no time at all. It takes a long time. Well, the player's like, yeah, cool, that. There you go. Ancient Copper Dragon 1.44. This is one that can just end the game by hitting once. Literally. Just like, okay. Gets through, hits a player, you roll a d20, you get that many treasures. Okay, you hit. Oh, okay, cool. You got, an 18. All right, you get 18 treasures. I guess that's the game because you just basically ramped 18. Ow. Just for rolling correctly. I mean, not ramp, like temporary ramp, but still enough to put you over the edge. Jessica's Will, very, very, very powerful CDH card for the most. I mean, it's powerful in regular EDH too, but like, yeah, you play this right away, you get 7 mana, and then you also get 3 cards off the top library. Gross. Subtlety, this one's probably more so from other formats kind of coming over, unless I'm missing something for the most part. But yeah, being able to cast something for free, and then, being able to, stop it. It's kind of, or maybe CDH as well, but okay. Bounce Chamber again, the last one to highlight. Again, attractions apparently. This one less, 1.36. Turn a creature on control, the lowest toughness among other creatures on control back to owner's hand. So yeah, this one, as well as all the other attractions, apparently more salty than I realized. So yeah, if you've played against an attraction deck and you've been salty about it, please let me know in the comments below. Again, it's just fascinating to see over the last couple of years. I think I just went back to 2020, right, and kind of capped it there. What kinds of cards we've gotten that, outside of commanders, because again, check out that commander list as well to see what commanders have been salty recently too. But outside of commanders, like, what cards have they been making that make players salty? And it's like, apparently attractions, but also things that are a bit pushed, ones that are still like more stacksy, and then also like things that are free too, or just like over pushed. Yeah, so it's an interesting combination. And attractions, there you go. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. As always, comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.